hang up the uniform, they still serve. You're a scout leader to your kids.
Thank you, everyone. I'm delighted to be here again this evening to present this award to our youngest winner. Please welcome to the stage.
Atmosphere, making our competitors feel like the stars they are.
Have you ever watched a person's entire reality tilt in under 10 seconds? That's exactly what unfolded when Meghan unexpectedly stepped into the spotlight, anticipating Harry would, as always, extend the microphone.
And it was some peer supporters from LA County Fire Department, and man.
But this time, his hand didn't move. His grip stayed firm, his gaze forward, and his choice startled everyone present. If you thought you understood their partnership dynamic, this moment likely reshaped your perception. Before diving into the significance of what transpired, make sure you're following along, because this story runs far deeper than one awkward exchange. Stay until the conclusion, because the fallout may leave you surprised.
Now here's a video of Meghan watching Harry as he's giving out his award, and you can tell she is not happy.
Now, picture the scene. Harry stands confidently at the podium, microphone steady, addressing a hall brimming with people. His tone is assured, his words passionate as he outlines causes close to his heart. Each sentence holds weight. The audience listens intently, nodding as he shares personal reflections and pressing initiatives. He's at ease, fully in command of the room. Then, without introduction or notice, Meghan appears behind him. She wasn't scheduled to speak, wasn't named in the program, yet there she was, striding across the stage.
Why didn't Prince Harry give Meghan Markle the mic? He had it. I mean, he had the mic this time, unlike the...
Video from the night shows Meghan watching Harry as he presented awards. Her expression told a story of dissatisfaction. She then moved toward him, visibly intent on joining. The shift in Harry's demeanor was immediate. Just moments earlier, he was in rhythm. Then surprise flickered across his face. His words faltered briefly as he adjusted mid-sentence, glancing back to register her presence. You could see him recalibrating, deciding how to navigate the unscripted intrusion while still maintaining composure before hundreds of onlookers. The audience mirrored his unease. Unsure how to react, the hall grew hushed. Why didn't Harry pass Meghan the microphone? He clearly had it, unlike past occasions when she naturally took part. The crowd had gathered to hear his reflections, his projects, his advocacy. This unexpected deviation from the plan left them unprepared. Heads turned, whispers spread. Yet applause didn't erupt. No cheers broke the silence. The hesitation was palpable, stretching longer than anyone expected. That awkward pause mirrored the feeling when a live event suddenly veers off script, and the entire room wonders how to proceed. Hundreds of eyes, and just as many camera lenses, captured every second. The atmosphere changed instantly, from focused attention to a mood of speculation and second-guessing. What had been a smooth, compelling speech was now a fragmented exchange. Everyone tried to interpret what they were witnessing. While surprise guest appearances aren't unheard of at public galas, this particular entry stood apart. Compare it, for instance, to moments during the Queen's Platinum Jubilee, where the couple maintained a discreet role. This time, the energy in the room faltered dramatically. What stood out most was the subdued audience response. Normally, even unscripted moments draw polite applause or acknowledgement. Instead, the hall lingered in uncomfortable silence. That lack of reaction spoke volumes. You could practically feel the tension ripple outward as attendees searched for cues on how to respond. The story took an intriguing turn afterward. Despite the oddness of the live moment, what circulated across major outlets the following morning told a very different tale. Social media feeds and news sites filled with carefully polished photographs. Meghan radiant, Harry engaged, the two seemingly unified in purpose. What was striking wasn't the images themselves, but what they replaced. Instead of raw video clips, coverage leaned almost entirely on still photos. Think about that. In today's media climate where Rye Candid Second is normally dissected, this incident produced very little video circulation. Instead, curated snapshots framed the evening as harmonious. Photographers were there, cameras rolling, yet the chosen coverage told only one story, that of cohesion. It demonstrated the power of editorial selection. By focusing on staged stills, outlets crafted a narrative in sharp contrast to what had played out in real time. This isn't unusual in celebrity journalism. Decisions about which angles to highlight often shape public interpretation more than the events themselves. When a polished set of images dominates headlines, the rough edges of reality fade from view. And that's exactly what happened here. Yet beneath the polished imagery lies the detail everyone circles around, that single microphone. A small object, but symbolic. In the world of public appearances, the microphone isn't just equipment. It represents command of the message, the chance to guide an audience's attention. And for years, Harry and Meghan shared that symbol readily. There are countless examples of their coordinated approach at award shows, charity dinners, international summits. Harry would begin, Meghan would step in, and they'd share duties seamlessly. It became routine to the point where audiences expected it. Event organizers even reportedly adjusted programs to accommodate Meghan's contributions when she wasn't scheduled. Their pattern was predictable, their rhythm familiar. But this night, that rhythm broke. Harry kept hold of the microphone. He kept facing forward, pressing on with his prepared speech. His body language stayed steady, his eyes on the crowd. He didn't yield, didn't turn it into a joint presentation. And that choice, small as it seemed, marked a departure from everything before. Observers online have spun theories, some far-fetched, some speculative. But the central truth remains, this wasn't simply about a device, it was about control of the moment, and Harry chose to keep it. For an audience used to seeing them perform as a unit, the contrast was undeniable. What made it more remarkable was Harry's confidence. He didn't appear rattled, he didn't stumble or project hesitation. Instead, he carried through, delivering his remarks with composure, almost as though he'd decided beforehand this was his segment and he would complete it alone. Meanwhile, Meghan's appearance that evening sparked commentary of its own. She had chosen a high-end outfit, clearly prepared for the formality of the gathering. Her styling reflected her signature taste. Sleek, bold, and intended to stand out under lights. Stage illumination, though, often amplifies details differently than everyday settings, and her look became a talking point among attendees. Certain design choices appeared more vivid than expected, contrasting sharply with the otherwise understated atmosphere of the event. As the night unfolded, stage managers adjusted positions, as they often do at live productions. Lights, spacing, and movement were altered to maintain flow. While these changes are routine, they also created more separation between Harry and Meghan on stage, shifting from the collaborative style audiences were used to into something more individualized. Through it all, Meghan maintained her practiced poise, her professional smile steady despite the awkward dynamic. What's vital to understand is that this episode wasn't an isolated blip. It's part of a broader trajectory, reflecting evolving decisions within their partnership about presentation, roles, and even family matters. In fact, conversations about their children's future had already been layering additional complexities. Harry has long voiced hopes that his children might experience both American life and the traditions of his British heritage. Interviews suggest he wanted them to connect with both sides of their family story, but achieving that balance involves intricate logistics, education choices, cultural exposure, travel coordination, and the ever-present issue of security. Their California base complicates arrangements requiring extended stays abroad. Planning such experiences demands enormous coordination, housing, protection, scheduling with relatives, all while managing their professional calendars. For a high-profile family, these choices aren't casual. They require months of advanced planning, substantial resources, and agreement between both parents. And within that context, decisions about who leads on stage, who holds the microphone, and who speaks publicly take on even deeper meaning. Once the official ceremony ended and the cameras shifted focus, the room's energy naturally changed. The structured stage program gave way to the usual mingling and informal conversations that follow such events. Attendees described a noticeable shift from formal applause and speeches to a more relaxed atmosphere filled with smaller conversations and networking. Harry adapted smoothly. Having maintained his polished delivery on stage, he transitioned into one-on-one discussions with confidence. He gravitated toward groups tied to his professional projects and philanthropic efforts. His networking wasn't random. It seemed purposeful, focused on building or reinforcing connections relevant to his causes. Meghan likewise moved into the networking phase, engaging different clusters of guests. Observers noted her conversational ease, her ability to command small group attention. But like Harry, she appeared selective, prioritizing interactions aligned with her interests and initiatives. For both, it wasn't about speaking to every person in the room, but maximizing value from targeted conversations. This strategy is common among seasoned public figures. At large-scale functions, time is limited. Experienced guests often seek meaningful interactions over surface-level exchanges, and both Harry and Meghan demonstrated that same practiced efficiency, channeling their attention toward the relationships most relevant to their goals. The post-event socializing revealed another layer, how each approaches visibility. Harry leaned into issue-based discussions, framing his conversations around mental health advocacy, veteran support, and ongoing charity projects. Meghan, meanwhile, gravitated toward topics closer to cultural engagement, media, and community programs. Both navigated the space with confidence but in distinct ways, reflecting their individual professional focuses. What makes this incident even more compelling is how it feeds into the broader workings of entertainment journalism. Media outlets operate within systems designed not just to report, but to retain reader attention across multiple news cycles. One-off stories rarely sustain interest. Instead, narratives are extended, reshaped, and presented in evolving fragments. Coverage of Harry and Meghan exemplifies this process. The same incident can be framed in wildly different ways, depending on the outlet. Some lean on polished imagery to portray unity. Others highlight moments of awkwardness to emphasize division. These choices aren't random. They're strategic, designed to appeal to audience preferences and maintain digital engagement. In fact, modern celebrity coverage often functions less like isolated reporting and more like serialized storytelling. By presenting events as ongoing chapters, media organizations encourage repeated clicks, shares, and discussion. This explains why one outlet might headline Meghan's appearance as a show of strength, while another frames it as a blunder. The contrast serves different readerships, each with its own appetite for interpretation. The digital environment amplifies this effect. Online platforms rely heavily on sustained interaction. Continuous coverage, layered perspectives, and suggestive framing all generate far more traffic than a single one-time article. It's a model built for longevity, ensuring that figures like Harry and Meghan remain constant fixtures in the news cycle. Behind the scenes, publicists and media teams also play critical roles. Their relationship with journalists often guides which narratives get spotlighted, which images are circulated, and which details are emphasized. This ecosystem creates a feedback loop. Celebrities provide access, media offers coverage, and audiences consume stories shaped by both. This context helps explain why the microphone moment was packaged the way it was. The polished photos weren't accidental. They were part of an intentional narrative. And the limited distribution of raw video, despite its availability, highlighted how editorial judgment can redirect perception. But beyond media strategy, the moment also reflected a deeper personal shift, particularly for Harry. Over the years, his presence at public engagements has evolved. Early on, his appearances often seemed cautious, sometimes overshadowed by more dominant figures. Gradually, though, he's demonstrated growing confidence, shaping his style into something more assertive and independent. This trajectory is evident across his charitable endeavors. With veteran organizations, for example, he's taken on more active leadership roles, drawing from his military background. In mental health advocacy, he's spoken with clarity and conviction, often connecting issues to his own experiences. These aren't casual endorsements, they're personally grounded causes that fuel his sense of purpose. The same pattern shows in his approach to global humanitarian work. He's less inclined now to share the stage passively. Instead, he leans into projects where he can set the tone, define priorities, and speak with authority. This independence has grown steadily, marking his shift from participant to leader. In this light, the decision to hold the microphone becomes symbolic of a broader arc. It wasn't just about one speech, it mirrored Harry's increasing willingness to chart his own path publicly. For a man who once seemed hesitant, that confidence marked real progression. Meghan's role, however, introduces another layer of complexity. Her presence at such events remains a flashpoint, inviting both admiration and criticism. Supporters point to her poise, style, and advocacy efforts. Detractors frame her as spotlight-seeking. The truth, as often happens, sits somewhere in between, shaped heavily by editorial framing. Fashion plays into this as well. Meghan's wardrobe choices are never just clothing. They become part of the narrative. Every detail, from cut to color, is scrutinized, especially under stage lighting that alters appearances. What might seem elegant in daylight can look exaggerated under bright event illumination. This duality feeds coverage, giving media additional angles to amplify. As the evening progressed, logistical adjustments further underscored the separation between Harry and Meghan's roles. Coordinators moved participants, shifted lighting, and altered stage arrangements, standard in live productions. But symbolically, these adjustments emphasized a dynamic of individuality rather than shared presence. Meghan maintained her professional composure, but Harry's deliberate focus on his solo remarks lingered in memory. What's striking is how such moments ripple outward. A microphone decision, on its surface, might seem minor. Yet, in context, against years of shared routines, audience expectations, and media coverage, it carries weight. It signals change, even subtly, in how the couple manages their joint image. This connects directly to broader family decisions already unfolding. Their discussions about their children's education and cultural identity exemplify the complexity of balancing dual legacies. Harry has openly valued maintaining ties to British tradition while embracing American upbringing. But implementing such visions requires planning that extends far beyond average households. Consider the layers involved. International travel with full security detail, ensuring privacy in foreign settings, coordinating schedules with both extended families, and aligning with professional obligations. Every decision is magnified by public scrutiny, turning logistical choices into media talking points. Balancing these competing needs demands negotiation between immediate realities and long-term goals. Harry's projects frequently call him overseas. Meghan's commitments are rooted heavily in California. Reconciling these differences while raising children and managing constant attention creates a uniquely complex situation. In this light, the microphone episode can be seen as one small reflection of larger themes: negotiation of roles, balancing of priorities, and asserting of independence within shared commitments. For Meghan, the night underscored her continuing pursuit of visibility. For Harry, it revealed a step forward in his personal confidence. After the stage portion, their divergent networking strategies further highlighted this contrast. Harry, as noted, concentrated on targeted professional discussions. Meghan, too, engaged selectively, but her choices leaned toward cultural and media-related conversations. Both approaches were valid, efficient, and professional, yet they illuminated their differing spheres of influence. Attendees described these networking patterns as deliberate. Rather than circulating widely, both focused where they saw the most value. That strategy reflects a practical understanding of such events. Maximize the opportunity by investing energy where it counts most. Through it all, one fact became clear. This was no ordinary evening. It wasn't just another charity gala. It became a case study in how modern celebrity functions, how media spins reality, and how personal dynamics subtly shift under the spotlight. What this evening revealed most clearly is the layered nature of celebrity coverage. Every element, Harry's stance, Meghan's entrance, the audience's reaction, and the media's framing, fits into an intricate system. Entertainment journalism no longer simply documents. It curates, edits, and represents. The microphone exchange, seemingly small, illustrates how perception is built and maintained. Editorial teams make conscious decisions about which details deserve emphasis. One outlet highlights professional composure, another dwells on awkward pauses. Both versions are true in fragments, yet together they illustrate how selective storytelling creates divergent impressions of the same night. For high-profile figures like Harry and Meghan, this isn't occasional, it's constant. This ties to a broader trend within digital media. Platforms thrive on ongoing narratives, not one-off events. Coverage is stretched, repackaged, and delivered in ways that encourage repeat engagement. Audience retention matters more than single peaks of attention. That's why the same story appears in multiple variations, each angle sustaining interest over time. Publicists, journalists, and media companies together form the machinery behind this process. Their collaboration ensures that coverage satisfies audience demand while protecting industry relationships. In Meghan and Harry's case, it also demonstrates how professional objectives intersect with personal image management. For Harry, the transformation has been gradual but noticeable. Early in his public life, he often seemed reactive, guided by context and company. Over time, he has become more assured, more willing to assert his own perspective. His recent speeches reflect not just rehearsal, but conviction, delivered with a steadiness that signals growth. This independence has extended into his charitable projects, where he increasingly takes leadership roles, instead of playing supporting parts. The microphone moment symbolized this trajectory. By holding his ground, continuing his prepared remarks, and maintaining composure, he demonstrated a willingness to complete his role without deferring. It was, in many ways, a small declaration of professional maturity. Meghan, meanwhile, remains a focal point of fascination. Her style choices, her presence on stage, and her participation in conversations all draw scrutiny. Supporters highlight her resilience and advocacy. Critics question her motivations. But regardless of interpretation, her influence on the narrative is undeniable. Her wardrobe, her demeanor, even her timing become threads woven into the broader storyline. The evening also reflected the couple's ongoing balance between shared identity and individual paths. Their joint appearances are still significant, but moments like this show the emergence of separate trajectories. Harry's steady independence, Meghan's persistent pursuit of visibility, together they form a dynamic that is constantly evolving. Beyond the stage, the evening's networking confirmed this. Harry's targeted discussions about veterans' issues and charitable initiatives underscored his commitment to substance. Meghan's focus on cultural and media-driven exchanges highlighted her interest in influence and presentation. Each approach was effective yet different, illustrating how two individuals can share a platform but navigate it in distinct ways. The coverage that followed underscored how selective narratives dominate. Rather than raw footage, polished photographs became the defining images. Smiles, poise, composure, all carefully framed. The actual tension of the moment receded behind curated visuals. For audiences relying solely on headlines and photos, the story was one of unity, not division. This demonstrates the broader principle of modern celebrity journalism. Perception often matters more than reality. From a cultural perspective, the incident serves as a reminder of how performance, media, and identity intertwine. A microphone becomes a metaphor for control. A pause becomes a symbol of hesitation. A photograph becomes the official record, regardless of what truly occurred. As Harry continues his professional journey, his growing confidence will likely shape how future events unfold. No longer defined solely by tradition or expectation, he increasingly sets his own terms. Meghan equally will remain central to the narrative, whether through advocacy, fashion, or public appearances. Together, they embody both the opportunities and challenges of life under constant spotlight. For media observers, this night stands as a prime example of the industry's operating systems: selective coverage, ongoing narratives, audience-driven framing. For the couple, it marked another chapter in an evolving partnership, sometimes aligned, sometimes independent, always scrutinized. In the end, what the audience witnessed that night was more than an awkward interruption. It was a snapshot of change. Harry's independence crystallizing, Meghan's determination visible, and the media's hand shaping it all into a narrative consumed worldwide. This is how modern celebrity works. Events are staged, reframed, and retold until they serve broader stories of growth, conflict, or ambition. The microphone moment was no exception. It became a case study in image management, power dynamics, and the endless dance between reality and perception. As observers, we're left with a lesson about media literacy. What you see in headlines may not fully reflect what unfolded in the room. The curated photographs, the muted applause, the subtle body language all tell different stories. To understand public figures like Harry and Meghan, one must look beyond the polished frame and consider the layers beneath. Ultimately, the evening highlighted not just a couple navigating public life, but an entire industry built on interpreting their every move. It revealed the complexity of modern fame, where even a microphone becomes a symbol of independence, influence, and control. For those who follow the Sussexes closely, this chapter adds to an ever-expanding saga. And for media analysts, it remains a clear example of how entertainment journalism functions in the digital age: selective, strategic, and always evolving. If you found this breakdown insightful, make sure you join us here at Rising Lights for more in-depth coverage of the stories shaping today's headlines. Hit subscribe, tap the notification bell, and be part of our growing community where every detail matters.